Before we get started, a quick disclaimer. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing shared here should be taken as legal or medical advice, and listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client or consulting relationship. Every case is unique and laws vary by jurisdiction, so always consult with a qualified attorney or appropriate professional regarding your specific situation. Now that we've got that covered, let's get into it.
Welcome to the Attorneys Resource Legal Nurse Podcast, where we spotlight attorneys in personal injury, medical malpractice, workers' compensation, criminal, and healthcare law through focused conversations on the intersection of medicine and litigation. Each episode explores how medical insight strengthens legal strategy and case outcomes while improving collaboration, communication, and effectiveness in medically complex cases. Today, we are welcoming Nichole Omilion. Nichole was born and raised in Metro Detroit. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts in Criminal Justice with a minor in Political Science from Wayne State University. She then attended the University of Detroit Mercy School of Law, graduating in 2022 with her Juris Doctor. Before pursuing her legal career, Nichole worked as a foster care caseworker, serving children and families throughout the Metro Detroit Tri-County area. This experience strengthened her commitment to advocacy, justice, and service to her community. Nichole began her legal career at McKean and Associates, where she focused on complex medical litigation. Since joining Marko Law, she has expanded her practice to include civil rights, employment law, personal injury, and continued work in medical malpractice matters. Nichole is dedicated to providing compassionate and client-centered care and strategic representation for individuals facing serious legal challenges. Nichole is a proud member of the Michigan Association for Justice, the American Association for Justice, the Detroit Bar Association, and the State Bar of Michigan Labor and Employment Law section. She is also a member of the political action committees for both the MAJ and AAJ, and is a graduate of the MAJ Leadership Academy. Outside of the office, Nichole enjoys golfing, reading, traveling, and spending time with her dogs. Welcome, Nichole. We're excited to share you and all of your legal talents with our audience today. I am very curious as we get started if you have anything to elaborate on that bio. It is an outstanding representation of your practice. I was interested to learn that you were a caseworker prior to getting into law, so there's some connection there, even to the nursing world, which is wonderful. So, how did you get here? How did you get to all of those steps in your life?
Yeah, and good morning. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be here. It kind of fell into my lap how this happened. I actually went to school for criminal justice. I wanted to go into some type of federal agency, which was originally my goal. But I ended up getting an internship in undergrad at Mandy's Place, which is the shelter, it's a foster care shelter in Oakland County. I love the work that I did there. And so what I basically did was once I graduated from undergrad, I went and was a foster care worker. And in that meantime, I gained a lot of experience. I realized and I saw a lot of injustice that was happening, and that really bothered me. And so what I did is I'm going to go to law school. It's time for someone to step up and start taking care of some of these things. That's exactly what I did. I went to law school. I originally went in and wanted to do family law, and I somehow ended up falling into medical malpractice. But now my practice area is it's very wide range. I do actually a lot of child abuse cases now, sexual assault cases now. And so now I'm still fighting for justice, which is exactly what I wanted to do.
Wonderful. That is a great background. And I want to thank you. You and I met several years ago, and being able to hear your passion for correcting wrongs and fighting for that justice for people that cannot do that for themselves is a wonderful thing. So from a nurse to you, thank you for that. Along the way, was there anyone that inspired your practice specifically that helped you through that process of transitioning from casework to legal work and now to where you are today?
Yeah, and so really, I have give a big thank you out to Brian McKean, honestly. He was phenomenal. I was lucky enough to start my career with him. He is one of the best medical malpractice attorneys in the country, and specifically in Michigan as well. And I clerked for him starting my second year in law school. And he really, took me under his wing. And showed me how to basically the practice not only of law but medicine, which is very complex to learn, especially in second year of law school. And so I truly have to thank him for that, because he really has built me into this attorney I am now and gave me the tools and resources to do that.
That's great. So looking at that area of practice, what makes you unique? What is so unique about the area of practice that you are now in?
Yeah, and so my practice has kind of changed over time. I initially started just exclusively doing medical malpractice, and now since being at Marko Law, I do a lot of civil rights work, like I said, sexual assault, child abuse cases, things in that nature. And I think what makes it so unique is the complexity of my cases. These are not, rear end accident cases that are very straightforward. A lot of times, especially medical malpractice cases, I'm dealing with very complex. For instance, right now I have a case where it's a post-cardiac procedure volume management case. That's very complex medicine to understand. And that's what makes my practice area a little bit different, right? Because I not only have to be an attorney, but I also have to learn medicine.
And so how do you do that? How do you learn the medicine that you need to know to try your cases properly?
My experts are my lifeline, 100%. For instance, in the case, like I just said, for volume status, am relying heavily on my experts. They really teach me the medicine. I have no background in any form of medicine. And each case is different that comes to me. I don't think I've had one case where the medicine was the same as any of the other of them. And so, my experts really, I mean, they have to break it down for me and make me understand. And so then I can go in and make others understand, including a jury, which is, very hard to do.
Sure, that is something I discuss often with different attorneys is that you can have almost everything identical, but it will never be identical. You still have different people, different families, different backgrounds that you are finding that impact that case. And so the experts are very important in helping to guide that. So if you could offer the experts that you work with a piece of advice, or actually any of the audience that may be listening, that says, wow, I really like what I hear today, and I'd love to either refer to you as an attorney or seek you out. What piece of advice would you give legal nurse consultants or nurse experts that are working in this field that can make a difference in their career pathway?
Yeah, I think that what's really important, honestly, is and what I appreciate is an honest opinion. I don't want an opinion that you're trying to sway in my way. I truly want to know what you think of the medicine, and if you think my case will be successful as far as causation or the breach of the standard of care, because I would rather know that early on in my case, and not move forward with my case than get down the road to where we have what's called motion for summary disposition or judgment, depending on what type of court you're in, and then the whole case gets thrown out because we don't have support for it. So, I really would rather just please give me a brutal, honest opinion. I appreciate that more than anything. And not only that, really, really, really break it down. When I talk with my experts, I say, talk to me like you're talking to your 5-year-old child, and explain this to me, because that's exactly how I'm going to have to break it down for me to understand questions to even bring to depositions, or for me to even break it down for a jury for them to understand.
So, in all of that, do you have an example of a case that didn't go so well because experts did not do what they were supposed to do?
Yeah, so for instance, in the start of my career, I had a bed sore case in a nursing home facility, which those cases can be kind of tough, depending on underlying health conditions, things of that nature, etc. I gave my expert all of the medical records, which are imperative. You have to read them. You have to read all the medical records. I know it's voluminous. You have to read them. And my expert went in for their deposition and did not know that that individual was diabetic, which is very important to know that when it comes to wound care and things of that nature with healing. Did not know that. And so my case completely kind of flipped over and turned, and I had to find ways to try to save it from there. But it is very important. The attorneys are giving you these medical records because you got to look at them, because the first question that's going to come out of that defense attorney's mouth is, what medical records did you read? Okay. Because they know all the medical records in the case. And so if you don't say all the medical records and list them, they're going to basically poke holes in your testimony right there.
I can, working as an expert in this field, I can attest to that as well. I have not come across a single attorney that doesn't know those medical records inside and out. And making it the goal of knowing it better than that attorney has definitely some value. So, with the invention of AI, which has been really we've been working with AI for many, many years. We have different products, but now it is rapidly changing so fast. So when we talk about experts needing to read records, attorneys needing to read records, what dangers are you seeing in your area of practice that could negatively impact your casework?
Yeah, so we do, and I work with AI. So I work with AI often. It's a great tool. It's not the end all be all, I will say. You can put medical records in there and then have them summarize the medical records. That's great. I can tell you right now, they do not summarize the way that they should. They're not going to pick every piece out of a nurse's note. They won't give you all the lab values. For instance, in a case I'm working on right now, creatinine level is very important. It did not pick up every single day what the creatinine level is, and put it in order for me. So yes, you can rely on AI, but again, you have to read those medical records. You have to go through them, because there's going to be little details that AI is not going to know or is important to your case.
Right. So, how have you found it making your life easier if you're using it as an attorney? I have heard some attorneys say that they're getting punished basically in the courtroom for use of AI. I'm assuming you're avoiding those things, but
Yes.
how are you finding it to be useful? And is there a way that the experts working with you can also utilize it to be more useful to you?
Yeah, so there's many ways. One is deposition summaries. Those deposition transcripts are super long. They're very long. It's a lot more work for experts to read through all of them, which they have to do, right? Because they need the testimony from the doctor, defendants. And so I use the AI all the time to give me a deposition summary that cites to parts in the transcript, so that way they can reference the transcript if they need to look at that. Medical literature, that's huge, at least in Michigan, because you need some type, it either needs to be from their experience or through medical literature for their opinions. And when I say there, I'm talking about experts. And so it can help just pull like names of articles that may be relevant to my case. And then I can go pull those, read them, and then give them to my experts if I think they're also relevant. Or my experts can do the same thing. They can pull them, they can give them to me and say, this is the article that I'm relying on, and you should read this because this is right on point. So AI has been helpful. Like I said, it has gotten obviously other attorneys in trouble because, it's not up to par to cite case law and cite the court rules properly. Just makes things up a lot of times, but it can be useful in other aspects.
Good. So, taking that back to your discussion about the complexity of your cases and how complex they are, what is your approach to managing that casework?
Yeah, so my approach essentially is, one, like I said, my experts are huge. They allow me to understand the complexity of my cases at a vastly faster level than I probably could if I was trying to figure it on my own. A lot of times I do ask my experts to give me articles, things of that nature that they're relying on, so I have those ready to go. I also call my experts always before I go into doctor defendant depth. So I know for certain, and I go through their affidavit again and, go through the medicine again so I understand it, make sure I'm hitting all the points I need to hit when going in there, and really just making sure I understand. And so that's kind of how I manage the complexity of these cases is like I said, I really rely on my experts. I have constant contact with them. They know what's going on in my case. I also know what their opinions are basically every step of the way, even when I get updates, right, from depositions. And so that's kind of how I manage the complexity of these cases.
That is something I do know about you, and I would love to highlight that for any of the attorneys that are joining in our audience. How do you manage the relationship with your experts? I have been on that other end with you, so I know it well. And there's a lot of value to the way you approach your relationship. So, can you share that with everyone?
Yeah, so I basically treat my experts like they are a part of my case. They are my team. And so from the beginning, I give them a breakdown of the facts, at least that I have, the medical records that I have. They run through them. I read through their opinions, or I have a call with them regarding their opinions and run through everything. When I get depositions, transcripts, I give those to them and give them a summary and basically say, this is what happened in this deposition, so you know here's the transcript, here's the summary. So they really know what's going on in the case every step of the way, which is really important, right? For when they get to their deposition, then they know everything that's kind of going on, what the opinions are. They're not getting blindsided at the last minute where you're giving them 12 deposition transcripts and thousands of pages of medical records the week before they go into their deposition and they have to read all of it. Having that constant communication is huge.
I will have to say that for anyone that you find in the future that has an opportunity to work with you, that is a blessing from expert to attorney. Having that communication, that level of communication, helps significantly, as well as it connects people for life. It helps collaboration, it helps better communication and future relationships, which is outstanding as well. So, what when we think about those that you are competing with, so you're at Marko Law, you have a well-established legal practice in a variety of complex areas. What sets you apart from the others doing the same work?
What sets me apart from my competitors is that I had the privilege of having the experience that most don't, especially this early on in their career. Like I said, I was very, very blessed and able to learn under Brian McKean, and he taught me a lot. And now I'm very blessed and privileged to also learn under John Marko, which is the one of the best trial attorneys in the country. I mean, I think he's 22 at this point, in trials. And so, I really have the privilege of learning under the best of the best. And not only that, I started my career in these complex cases. I don't shy away from a challenge. I believe that everyone deserves justice regardless of what the facts are of their case or the challenge level of their cases. And that doesn't scare me. I will work hard. That's always been my motto. I will always outwork the other side, which is why my cases are successful. In the way that they are, I will file more motions. I will be very annoying, and make their life not so great. And so I think that's what really sets me apart.
So, in expanding upon that, thinking about where you were back in law school, actually graduating in criminal justice and getting into casework, the similarities between healthcare and the legal realm are significant, I believe. We often have share the same focus in advocacy and in caring for people. You have it right in your bio. You are focused on building relationships and collaborative care and a client-centered care. In nursing and healthcare, we call that patient-centered care.
Mhm.
How has how has that world prior to your law degree impacted the way you see things in your cases?
Yeah, so it definitely has impacted the way that I see cases. Like you said, it does work collaboratively. And I think that at the end of the day, we all have the same focus, right? The same focus, whether it's patients or your clients, or when when I was a foster care worker, was a kid, I was on my caseload. Those were my main focus. And so I think that it's the same way now. My clients, at the end of the day, I'm their voice. They're my main focus. And that's really why I went into this. And I know that's why nurses go into these, that, goes in the fields that they do, is because you want to be that advocate. You want to be the voice for those individuals who feel like they have no voice. And so that's essentially the same thing. It overlaps. That's what I want to do. That's why I'm here. I want to give those individuals a voice who otherwise wouldn't have.
That's wonderful. And I think you have already said it probably multiple times, but just so the audience has a really clear understanding, why would someone hire you? Why reach out to you, Nichole Omilion?
So the big difference I think between me that sets me apart than anybody else is that when you call me for an intake, you're going to talk to me. Okay, you're not going to talk to an intake team, an intake paralegal. You're going to talk to me. Right from the start, there's going to be direct communication with me. You'll never lose that communication. I constantly call my clients. My phone, I always say you can call or text me at any point. And that's huge because a lot of times clients, well, first off, this is already a scary process. Okay. They don't know what's going on. This is the first time they probably have ever been involved in litigation. And unfortunately, I meet, my clients probably at the worst time in their life. And so, having that communication with your client speaks volumes. Just sitting there breaking down, hey, this is the next steps is going to go on, and really explaining so they aren't going in blind. Like for instance, for a deposition, it's terrifying for your clients to go to a deposition. And so just sitting there explaining, hey, this is where you're going to sit. This is what's going to happen. These are probably the steps and the process that's going to happen in your deposition. And that's really what is different with me, because I have seen with other attorneys who have not even spoken to their client prior to their deposition, which is horrible. I don't think that's the way that it should be. This is their case. This is their fight for justice, and really we're there to help them meet that goal.
I can see that very well. And working as an expert, that is where I believe we hand off the role of advocacy. We have been had our chance to advocate under the healthcare system, and we become that person of truth and justice for you to be able to advocate effectively for your patients. So, what is one thing that would surprise others to know or to learn about you?
Yeah, so it's so funny when the reactions that I get when I say this. I actually ride a motorcycle. A lot of people would not think. Every time I say it, especially to my coworkers who are plaintiff attorneys, they cringe, like, "Oh no, why are you doing that?" But I love it. That's one thing. And then I also love to ski. So I ski. I just actually skied out west in Jackson Hole, Wyoming this past winter. Those are two things I think that people are surprised to hear, because when they picture me, I think they picture me just sitting, typing away at my desk or in court hearings. But I do try to get out every once in a while, and take a breather.
I think professionals are allowed to have fun. And I would say that for any emergency room nurse listening to this or physician, they're probably cringing too about the motorcycle. But it is fun to picture you riding it down the highway. So yeah, that is an interesting tidbit.
I do wear a helmet. I do wear a
That's
helmet,
good.
so
That is
it helps
smart.
the
That
cringe a
is
little bit.
smart. That is good. I check that out when I'm driving down the road. Who has a helmet and who doesn't, and how far do I stay away from people on motorcycles? So a lot of
Yeah,
safety issues there. A lot of
yeah,
safety issues. So
agree.
Nichole, how does the audience find you? If they're going to share this with anyone, how does the next person find you?
Yeah, so You can email me at any time if you want to. My email is very simple. It's my name. It's Nichole@markolaw.com. You can just simply Google my name. All my contact information is right there on Marko Law. Definitely, feel free to reach out, give me a call. I always like hearing from anybody if they have questions, whether that be a new attorney coming in, trying to get into this practice field, attorneys that are already in this practice field and say may have a complex case they want to, brainstorm with, or whether it's experts that are new and coming in and don't know kind of where to start. Definitely reach out to me anytime.
That's wonderful. And I want to thank you for joining us today. This has been a great opportunity. I've learned some interesting things about you and your career path. And I am excited to get this out and share it with our listeners. For those that are listening, thank you for spending time with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, share it with someone in the legal or medical world, and keep the conversation going. This is Jamie Geary, the founder of UpVision Consulting, LLC, and the Attorneys Resource Conference, reminding you the story is always in the medical records. We will see you on the next episode.
If you have found this episode valuable, be sure to like it, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a colleague handling medically complex cases. If you are an attorney looking for deeper medical insight to strengthen your case strategy, or you are a legal nurse ready to elevate how you support litigation, I invite you to connect with me and learn more about UpVision Consulting, LLC in the show notes, because stronger collaboration leads to stronger outcomes.